Now, another strange thing happens during the halving, and that is a flurry of speculation, especially among media that is not Bitcoin savvy, about what the impact of the halving will be on the price, on the health of the network, et cetera, et cetera. And we see this frenzy of media speculation repeat every 4 years, and every 4 years is the exact same story. The first and most common story we hear is known as the death spiral. So basically, the story goes like this. When the halving happens and the reward per block is reduced by half, miners will find that they are suddenly unprofitable based on the current price of Bitcoin and the amount of energy they use to mine and the current difficulty. All of those are parameters that go into whether they're profitable or not. When they discover they're unprofitable, they're going to go, oh, well, that was fun. I guess 14 years is enough. And then they will turn off their miners and stop mining. And all of them will do this simultaneously. And the result will be that there won't be another block because the difficulty will be too high. There won't be enough miners. The hash rate will drop. It will take too long to mine the next block, which will reduce the profitability for more miners who will then turn off, which will reduce the profitability for more miners who will turn off, because we're never getting to a difficulty adjustment. I have to mine 2016 blocks to get to a difficulty adjustment. And if miners are dropping like flies, we never even get to the next block, let alone 2016 blocks to actually get the difficulty to retarget. And so as a result, the network grinds to a halt. And this is described as Bitcoin's death spiral. Has been predicted every 4 years before the halving. People write articles all about this. It's a very exciting story, right? It's a very clickbaity story. Here's why Bitcoin will crash on April 19th. Now, I love stories like this. In fact, we had a similar type of scenario recently on April 8th during the annular eclipse that was happening over the continental United States. And that story came with another predictable media story and frenzy of speculation that is probably as old as eclipses, which was that the world would end because of a shadow of the moon. And so the world would end on April 8th. I know in the US, a lot of people were preparing for the rapture. My favorite story was one lady who spent the previous few weeks going to her favorite diner and tipping hundreds and hundreds of dollars on every meal she wanted to give out all of her money before the rapture. To kind of square her accounts with God. And then, of course, the rapture didn't happen. And predictably, on April 9th, she went back and asked for a refund, claiming that it was fraudulent. So the rapture didn't happen, and neither will Bitcoin's death spiral. The world did not end. But despite the fact that this is a story that, simply based on looking at the previous 4 occasions, you could dismiss as fanciful, we are hearing it again. So a lot of people are worried about the death spiral of Bitcoin. Now, the reason why this story doesn't make sense is because miners are not a monolithic block. They are experiencing a very broad variety of circumstances which will inform their decisions on profitability. So if all miners were running the same equipment with the same efficiency, buying electricity from the same electricity provider at the same price, and the Bitcoin price didn't change while the rewards dropped by half, yes, all miners would become unprofitable at the same time. And if they somehow failed to notice that this was coming. But in fact, miners have a broad variety of equipment even within a single mining farm. Between miners, there'll be different equipment with different efficiency. They buy electricity from vastly different electricity providers at vastly different prices. And so while some miners may find that some of their equipment in some of their locations has become unprofitable and turn that equipment off, not all equipment at all locations and not all miners will become unprofitable at the same time. And so as long as there are enough miners to mine the next block, and if you do the math, it's really simple. If half the miners disappeared, all that means is that the next block would come out in 20 minutes instead of 10. Even if half the miners turned off their equipment and the hash rate dropped by half, we would then have 20-minute blocks. And we would have 20-minute blocks for 2,000 blocks, which would mean 4 weeks. And then after 4 weeks, there'd be a difficulty retargeting. The difficulty would drop by half. And all of the miners who hung in there and kept their systems would suddenly become very profitable.